I'm Frank Allocco and happy to welcome you to Tuesday Testimonials, where we explore the lives and commitment of the sons and daughters of USF. Today, I am proud to be here with Dennis Black, two-time first-team All-WCC honoree, two-time Northern California Player of the Year, and a local guy who made good. Dennis, you truly are a local guy. Tell me about your family and growing up in Berkeley.
We are the fifth generation here in California. My parents were born and raised in Berkeley, and I grew up in Berkeley, and felt very fortunate to eventually do both my basketball career, college career, and also the jobs I've had. I've been able to stay in the Bay Area.
Dennis, what attracted you to basketball?
As growing up as most of us, you start playing sports. My parents were very sports-minded. So I tried football and realized that I could get hurt on that sport. Then I thought about playing baseball, and I realized I could not hit a curve. And so I left the third one. Since I was the tallest kid in the class, I just stayed with that. They put me at center, and I basically played center up through high school.
So how does the tallest kid in the class become a player? Where did you hone your skills to develop into the outstanding player you were?
Well, as I mentioned, I grew up in Berkeley, and we were very fortunate in having a park, Live Oak Park. Most communities do have, where the best of the best get together. And Live Oak Park was where I learned how to play basketball. It allowed me to start at a very early age, playing with older kids. And then we grew to the big court where you played 3-on-3. And in 3-on-3, what happens is you either win or you go back to the end of the line and wait another 2 or 3 hours to get on the court again. So you learn not to lose. And that's really where I learned how to play.
So you're becoming a player. You don't have a history with the Dons. You're more of a Cal Bears fan at the time. USF comes along. They're recruiting you. How many offers did you get? I mean, how outstanding of a player were you in high school?
I was very fortunate. I was able to get over 100 offers.
Wow.
Saw a little bit of the country that I'd never seen before. But when it came down to it, trust me, I learned very quickly who USF was. I met the coaching staff. Going back 2 years, USF had a great recruiting season, and they basically recruited for the best in Russ Gamina, Joe Ellis, Charlie James, and Irv Mueller. And that's when I really became aware of who USF was, and then started researching them and realized that this was a school that I was really hoping that I could go to.
So you play on the freshman team with some great players. You just named the 4 of the finest players in USF history. And we had Joe Ellis on the show earlier, and you talk about that wonderful team. And you come in as a sophomore. Obviously, freshmen were not eligible at that time. You make the varsity team and start as a sophomore and average 10.1 points per game and 7.8 rebounds per game on a great team. I mean, how are you able to achieve that as a sophomore?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. It was a great team. And as Joe said, people were more than willing to pass the ball, generous. It was a team effort. And so I think because we had such strong players, probably the opponents looked at the other players to guard, and there I was underneath the basket just picking up whatever I could.
So everyone's scouting report is really geared to Joe and Gamina and all these guys and Mueller, and there you are slithering around getting rebounds, right?
That's right.
But then those guys graduate, and
Yes.
now it's a different game. It's like being a head coach in basketball. They say the toughest seat is moving over a seat. Well, now you are as a player, and now you move from being that role guy that's in the scouting report, but not the guy they're featuring to stop. You come out of the gate and average a double-double, 19.1 points per game and 12.5 rebounds per game. The double-double wasn't even invented yet, and yet there you were averaging that. How did you achieve that?
I guess I didn't know better.
You would have done it more had you known it was an important statistic, the double-double, huh?
Yeah.
You were one of the greatest rebounders in USF history, having 19 rebounds in a game against LMU. I mean, so it's the angles and the 3-on-3 experience. What made you blossom as a rebounder?
And also you had to screen out. You know, you had to plant yourself and hope that your other teammates also, you know, blocked out. And so theoretically, as coach would explain to you, the ball should just drop onto the floor. You should just pick it up.
Yeah.
It sounds easier than it really was, but.
Dennis, do you have any special memories about your USF, athletic experience?
Well, probably the greatest experience was being honored to be trying out for the 1968 Olympics. And we had, before we had the tryouts for the Olympics, they had, at that time, the East-West All-Star game back in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I had the pleasure of rooming with Rick Mount, who was from Purdue. And JoJo White was on our team. And we played against Pistol Pete Maravich and Dan Itzel. It was a good game. And what I realized was these individuals have earned the right to be called great.
Yeah. And, you know, so how did you balance that? You're in the Army. I mean, did you play when you were in the Army?
I did. I was a finance officer, first lieutenant finance officer, and I got a chance to play 1 year of all Army basketball. And sort of a small world, when we went to the NIT back in 63, we played Army. And Army was being coached by a young fellow by the name of Bobby Knight.
Yep.
And one of his guards was Mike Krzyzewski, who commonly known as Coach K. And so 5 years later, there I am with Mike all on the all-Army basketball team. So everything's a full circle.
What a great experience. I mean, just amazing, you know, what the game did for you and the opportunities that it provided. But you put the game away. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, you know, use the game, don't let the game use you. And you're a great example of that. You're a guy that knew when was to put it away. How did you make that transition from committed athlete to committed businessman?
Well, I think it's the Peter principle. You realize that you can only go so high. And then it's best to leave a little bit on the top and move on. And I realized that one of my goals going to USF was business. And so I got my MBA and moved on, worked for Stone Webster Security for a very short period of time. And John Dugan was good enough to get me an interview with the staff there. And then went on and I figured that people had to eat. And so I went with Hershey Chocolate and Campbell's and Spice Islands in sales and marketing management. And had 22 great years, did a lot of traveling, and met a lot of nice people.
That's fantastic. So Dennis, you know, what I really impressed about you is you truly live the mission of helping others and seeking God in all things. I know you've volunteered on various boards in the Sonoma Valley. How has commitment shaped your life?
I think it's giving back. Yeah, I think you get to a certain age, maybe on a hilltop, when you realize, you know, you've taken enough. You have to start giving back, and you start to reflect on where you were when you were 17, when you were with 18, and so both my wife Mary and I have tried to be as supportive as we possibly can to that age group, and encourage people to go on to college or junior college, wherever it may be. I always say you can't take away a person's education,
right,
and you can only build on it. So we're fortunate that people are still enjoying Sonoma County great wines, and we're able to donate what we can.
So Dennis, in conclusion of the Tuesday testimonial, I always like to ask one simple question. Why are you still here? You still support USF, you're at games, you're at events, I see you with your classmates. What level of support do you provide, and why?
Well, the why is really very easy. It's because what USF did for me. It took me from a boy and turned me into a man and prepared me for what I come on to today. And because of that success, both my wife Mary and I have decided that we wanted to give back to USF and the students that were my age at that time. And so we joined the Legacy Foundation for USF. And I'm so happy to see that Father Los Chavos named on the building and the fundraising that he is doing.
Dennis, you're a grower of grapes and olives whose life has been the planting of seeds and nurturing them, whether it's on a court, a vineyard, or in your backyard garden. You are truly an example of giving back to the many who gave to you. Thanks for your commitment to change the world from here.